What if I told you your entire reality is a carefully crafted illusion? Not just the world around you, but even the thoughts inside your head, planted, shaped, and manipulated without you ever realizing it. The way you see yourself, the way you react, even the decisions you make, none of it may actually be yours. But once you recognize the illusion, everything changes. Stay with me, because what you're about to discover will completely shift how you see your own mind. 1. The illusion of the self. Imagine waking up one day and realizing that everything you thought you knew about yourself was a carefully constructed illusion, an intricate web of memories, beliefs, and experiences that you never consciously chose. From the moment you were born, a story was written for you. Your parents gave you a name, taught you a language, and introduced you to a world full of rules, expectations, and invisible limitations. You never stopped to question them because at that time you were just trying to survive. But here's the unsettling truth. What if the person you believe yourself to be isn't actually real? Think about it. From childhood, you absorbed identities like a sponge. You were told you were smart, or shy, or talented. Maybe you were labeled as too much, or not enough. You carried those words with you, unknowingly allowing them to define you. But here's the catch. None of it was ever truly you. These were just labels, temporary descriptions that society, family, and culture projected onto you. And over time, you began to believe them. You constructed a mental image of yourself, made up of ideas that were never originally yours. You were taught to fear failure, seek validation, and conform to expectations. But who decided these rules? At what point did you willingly choose who you are? Or was your identity simply handed to you? Most people never ask these questions. They live their entire lives defending a version of themselves that isn't even real, reacting emotionally to criticism, feeling insecure when their image is threatened, and chasing external achievements to feel worthy. But what happens when you stop playing along? What happens when you look at your reflection and realize that the person you've been trying to protect is just a character? Who are you really beyond the labels, beyond the thoughts, beyond the illusion? 2. The thoughts that are not yours. Have you ever wondered why your mind keeps whispering the same fears, the same doubts, and the same insecurities over and over? It's as if you're trapped in an endless loop of repetitive thinking, constantly questioning your worth, your abilities, your place in the world. But here's something that will shock you. Those thoughts were never yours to begin with. They were planted in you. From the moment you entered society, you were programmed, fed a script of what to think, how to behave, and what to believe. You absorbed these thoughts from your parents, your teachers, your culture, and the collective consciousness of society itself. Think about it. Why do so many people have the same fears? Why do millions of people feel not good enough? Why is it that self-doubt, comparison, and fear of judgment are universal struggles? Because they were taught to you. Society conditions you to seek approval, to fit in, to follow the safe path. It fills your mind with limitations, convincing you that you need to be better to be worthy. But have you ever stopped to question who is speaking inside your mind? If these thoughts were handed down to you, who were you before them? If your beliefs were programmed into you, what exists beyond them? What if your entire mental framework was constructed not to set you free, but to keep you in a mental prison? What if the real you exists beyond thought itself? Most people never break free from this illusion. They live their entire lives controlled by a voice in their head, never realizing that the voice isn't even theirs. But once you see through the illusion, everything changes. Because if these thoughts are not truly you, then what are you? 3. The ego's role in the illusion. The ego is a fascinating trickster. It pretends to be your identity, your personality, your very sense of self. But in reality, the ego is just a mask, a fragile, ever-changing construct that exists purely for self-preservation. Here's what the ego does. It keeps you attached to an image of yourself. It makes you feel separate from everything else. It convinces you that you must protect, prove, and defend yourself at all costs. The ego is what makes you feel offended when criticized, angry when challenged, and insecure when ignored. But here's the paradox. The ego isn't even real. It's just a mental construct, a collection of memories, opinions, and emotional reactions that you've accumulated over time. Yet you defend it as if it were your life. Think about it. If someone insults you, why do you feel hurt? If someone questions your beliefs, why do you get defensive? If you fail at something, why do you feel like you have failed, rather than simply learning from the experience? Because your ego fears its own destruction. It needs to keep you identified with it in order to survive. But what happens when you detach from the ego? You begin to see yourself in an entirely new way. You stop reacting. You stop defending an illusion. You realize that you are not the story your mind has been telling you. And in that realization, something incredible happens. You finally taste freedom. Because without the ego running the show, what remains is the real you. 4. Breaking free from the matrix. What if I told you that most of what you believe about reality is just a mental construct, a carefully designed system meant to keep you occupied, controlled, and unaware of the deeper truth? From the moment you are born, you are placed into a system, one designed to shape how you think, what you desire, and how you perceive the world. You are told to work hard so you can be successful. You are told that happiness comes from money, status, or external validation. You are programmed to seek approval, fit in, and follow the crowd. But what happens when you wake up? You begin to see that everything you were taught was designed to keep you chasing an illusion, never stopping to ask the deeper questions. Why do people feel empty even after achieving everything they ever wanted? Why does the constant pursuit of success, love, or validation never seem to be enough? Why do so many feel lost despite doing everything right? Because the system was never built for your freedom. It was built to keep you distracted, so you never ask, who am I beyond all of this? Breaking free from the matrix doesn't mean escaping reality. It means seeing through the illusion. It means understanding that the real you exists beyond the roles, the expectations, and the mental conditioning. It means questioning everything, observing your own mind, and realizing that you are not the thoughts you were taught to believe. Because once you wake up to the illusion, you can never be controlled again. 5. The hidden puppeteer. Controlling your mind. Imagine waking up in a dark room, tied by invisible strings you never noticed before. Every movement you make, every word you speak, even your deepest thoughts, aren't fully yours. But here's the unsettling part. You've been moving like this your whole life, and you never even noticed. From the moment you were born, you were handed a script, a story of who you are, what to believe, what is possible, and what is not. But the real question is, who wrote that script? Society? Your parents? The collective beliefs of those who came before you? The truth is, the thoughts running through your mind are not random. They are echoes of conditioning, absorbed from everything and everyone around you. And here's the kicker. Most people live their entire lives without questioning where their thoughts even come from. When you feel doubt, was it truly born within you? When you fear failure, was that a decision? Or were you programmed to react that way? When you seek validation, did you choose to care about what others think? Or was that implanted in you? What if your reality is being controlled by invisible forces shaping your thoughts and decisions without you even realizing it? Most people never break free because they never ask the right questions. But once you see the strings, you can finally start cutting them. So the question remains, are you thinking or are you being thought? 6. The prison without walls. Imagine walking through life believing you are free, only to one day realize you've been living inside an invisible cage, a mental prison so cleverly designed that you never even noticed the bars. The walls of this prison aren't made of steel. They are made of ideas, fears, and conditioned beliefs. You were never physically locked away, yet you feel trapped. You were never told you couldn't do something, yet you stop yourself. You were never chained, yet you live as if you were bound by something. What if this entire prison was built inside your own mind? You were taught to fear failure. You were programmed to doubt yourself. You were conditioned to crave approval. And the cruelest trick of all? You believe it was all your own doing. But let's ask a dangerous question. What happens when you step beyond those mental walls? What if the only thing standing between you and a life of true freedom was the illusion that you were ever caged at all? Because the truth is, the doors to this prison were never locked. The only thing keeping you inside is your belief that you belong there. 7. The grand illusion. You've been lied to since birth. What if everything you've ever known about life, success, happiness, even yourself was based on a lie? Think about it. From the moment you were born, you were handed a pre-packaged reality. You were taught what is possible and what isn't. You were told what success looks like. You were given a definition of happiness, as if it were universal. But have you ever stopped to question whether any of it is actually true? Why do so many people chase money, status, relationships, only to feel empty when they get them? Why do so many follow the rules, do everything right, and still end up miserable? Because the blueprint you were given was never designed for your freedom. It was designed to keep you asleep, playing a game that you never signed up for. But once you realize the illusion, you face a choice. Do you continue living inside the script you were handed? Or do you wake up and write your own? Most people never break free because they are too afraid to admit they've been deceived. But those who do, they see life for what it really is. A playground, not a prison. 8. The thought loop you never noticed. You wake up and your mind immediately starts running. The same worries, the same doubts, the same endless chatter in your head. And the craziest part, you don't even realize you're caught in a loop. Your mind repeats the same stories, the same fears, the same self-doubts over and over, as if you were programmed to replay them endlessly. But what if I told you that this loop isn't happening by accident? It's been carefully installed, designed to keep you thinking in circles, never moving forward. Think about it. Why do you keep coming back to the same limiting beliefs? Why does self-doubt seem like a permanent shadow? Why do the same fears never seem to disappear? Because your mind is a recording machine, and unless you take control, it will keep playing the same track forever. But once you see the pattern, you can break it. Because here's the secret. You don't have to believe every thought that enters your mind. The moment you stop reacting, the loop loses its power. And for the first time, you'll realize you were never truly trapped, only distracted. 9. Who were you before the world told you who to be? There was a time before you were taught what to think, before the world told you what was possible, before you learned to doubt yourself, before you started caring what others think. But that version of you, it still exists. It's just buried under layers of conditioning, expectations, and fear. From the moment you were born, you were given an identity, told what was normal, and trained to fit in, without ever questioning if any of it was true. But what happens when you strip all of that away? Who were you before the fear, before the labels, before the conditioning? Most people spend their lives building an identity based on what they think the world wants them to be. But the real power lies in unbecoming everything that was never truly you, because once you do, you reconnect with something far greater, your true self, untouched by illusion. And that is where real freedom begins. 10. The illusion of time. You've been trapped without knowing it. Most people believe that time is real, that the past is behind them, the future is ahead, and they are moving through life one moment at a time. But what if I told you that this perception of time is just another illusion? Think about it. The past doesn't exist anymore except as a memory in your mind. The future hasn't happened yet except as an idea in your imagination. So where is reality? Right here. Right now. Yet most people spend their lives chasing the future or haunted by the past, never realizing that neither actually exists. They are trapped, not by time, but by their perception of it. But when you wake up to the truth, something incredible happens. You stop waiting for happiness. You stop postponing change, and you stop living in a world that only exists in your head, because the only moment that has ever been real is this one. If this video opened your mind, then the one you see on the screen right now will take you even deeper. Click on it and keep exploring, because once you start seeing through the illusion, there's no going back. See you there.